Hey, Mr. Chair, yeah, if it's okay, I can run through some of these announcements. They're mostly MTC items. So Ada, if you'd like to jump in on any of these, that'd be fantastic. But the first item is just a reminder that the MTC SB 743 VMT Technical Assistance Program Round 2 is open through June 22nd. So the first round wrapped up, I believe, earlier this spring or late last year. So it included developing a lot of materials that could go to committees and boards and things like that, and also some one-on-one VMT calculation support. The next round, I believe, is more one-on-one support that'll be offered through the technical bench. I also wanted to congratulate our local jurisdictions that received Climate Program and Growth Framework grants. So those were approved at the Joint Planning Committee, I believe, last Friday. So I just wanted to go through the awards there. So there were 2 parking management awards recommended, one for Petaluma and one for downtown Santa Rosa. And then 5 PDA planning awards, one for Santera Way and Cotati, one for the Corona Road Smart Station in Petaluma, South Santa Rosa specific plan in Santa Rosa, workforce housing zoning plan in the city of Sebastopol, and then an update to the airport specific plan for the county. So great to see that. A lot of money coming into the county to help out with planning on the parking side and PDA side. So there's also, Ada, you sent out an update to the Regional Housing Technical Assistance Program. Did you want to give a brief overview on that?
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody has questions about the VMT program, I think Scott Dubin was part of it, or Healdsburg received funding. So you might, if you're interested or thinking about it, you might contact him and see how that went. There's a lot in the Regional Housing Technical Assistance Program, but maybe I guess I was focusing more on kind of the opportunities to apply for changing your PDA or a new PDA. Priority sites is another one which we had talked about, that is an opportunity to get access to the Regional Housing Technical Assistance Fund. REAP 2.0 has some capital funding. And so projects that are identified kind of as priority sites will be eligible for some, we're playing through a funding idea, which in the long term will be how we're thinking about BAFA also. So if people are interested, please contact Chris or myself, and we're happy to schedule a meeting and talk about the program a little bit more and how your site might be eligible, or sites plural, which are sites that can take 100 units plus ground floor kind of community anchor, or 500 units. So that's about it.
Great. And so Ada, the application window for new PDAs and updates, that's through July.
Yeah, the new PDA updates is through July. So if you have any thoughts about that, also call. Happy to talk to you about it. New PDAs or updates to your existing PDA boundaries is July 31st deadline. And then the priority sites is a September deadline.
Awesome.
Well, could we do a quick question on that for Ada? For the priority sites, I recall seeing something about a June 30 preference.
Okay, maybe I got the dates backwards, but if you give me a call, I can check in on that. Like, I'll just put a placeholder in and schedule time with Mark, and let's do that.
Yeah, I just remember seeing there's a September 30th deadline, but a June 30th preference or something like that. So. Oh,
sorry, I didn't know about that part. But just give us a heads up by June, if you like, and then I think that's a good start. I think he wants to talk things through with people and stuff like that too.
Okay, any additional questions on announcements? Okay, well, we can go back to number 1 and to introductions. Do we want to just go around the room? So I'd like to kick it off.
Sure. Suzanne Smith, Sonoma County Transportation Authority, Regional Climate Protection Authority.
Drew Nichols, SCTA, RCTA.
Chris Barney, SCTA.
Scott Orr, County of Sonoma.
Noah Houch, City of Putati.
Catherine Stubbs, SCTA.
Jeff Beiswinger, Runner Park.
Dana Trey, SCTA.
Nancy Waltering, City of Santa Rosa.
Ellen McDowell, City of Healdsburg.
Adam Garcia, SCTA, RCPA.
I think we're up to the Zoom people.
Morning, this is Kim Vogue with the Town of Windsor.
Good morning, this is Orlando with Caltrans.
Kevin Thompson, City of Cloverdale.
Grace Fonstrom, City of Sebastopol.
I'm Linda Chaffin from the Cloverdale Senior Center.
SCTA.
Tarina Wilson, City of Santa Rosa.
Ida Chan, ABAG MTC.
Zoe Unruh with Smart.
Owen Christopherson with Smart.
I think that's everybody if I'm counting right, so. All right, I think we're on to item number 3, and I think this is probably one that we can't take action on because we don't have a quorum. So I guess these would just end up on the next agenda, the minutes.
Back at the next meeting.
Okay, okay, there is one here. C, Committee of the Whole Meeting Notes Information.
And this is just information on the last meeting, last
Oh,
PAC
okay.
meeting, and no action
Okay.
needed on that one. Just
Oh, right, because there was no
correct.
quorum at that, so that's
Right.
just the notes.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Gotcha, okay. Well, we can move on to number 4. That's a discussion. That's the MTC ABAG Plan Bay Area 2050 update draft schedule discussion. Chris Barney.
Yeah, thank you. And Ada, if you have any clarifying remarks or anything, please jump in on this. But the regional transportation plan is officially kicking off next month, but there's been a lot of preparatory work kind of going into that process already. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of a look at the schedule as it is right now and how things are expected to proceed going forward. So the last Plan Bay area was adopted back in 2021. So MBC is kicking off the new regional transportation plan update. It includes analysis, transportation projects, and a lot of policies that impact funding and also policy direction for MBC in the region. So MPC has indicated that this update is intended to be a pretty minor update, focusing on kind of tune-ups and minor project changes. So they're not going to be digging into arena definitely is not included in this cycle, which simplifies things a lot. And the performance assessment is going to be at a much lower level than it was for the previous plan. So there are a couple of different concurrent planning efforts that will be going on at the same time. One is Transit 2050 Plus, which will develop a regional financially constrained transit system vision for the region. And they'll also be looking at identifying climate adaptation projects and evaluating freeway correction strategies. So a few other things to kind of be aware of and check into if you have interest. And I'll try and bring regular updates on all of those processes to this group as well.
When you said financially constrained, you mean like the ridership issues and?
Yeah, there'll be a limited amount of funding available.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yeah.
the transit fiscal cliff will definitely be considered as part of that. Yeah. So there's actually a committee, a regional committee that's looking at, right now they're working on a policy and vision statement for the project. So the representatives for the North Bay there's a representative from Golden Gate Transit and one from Marin Transit. So they've been providing regular updates to the Transit Technical Advisory Committee. So there's been a lot of work going on with that. So I believe those policy statements are supposed to be released next month. Sounded like yesterday.
Yeah, either next week or next month, but
Yeah. So hopefully at our next meeting, we'll have a little more information about that process. So this spring and summer, there's the chance to look at PDAs. So the applicate or the window to make changes and propose new PDAs closes on July 31st. So we're working with MTC to update any projects, major projects that are included in the plan. So currently the only major project with a price tag of over $250 million in the plan is a transit headway improvement project that includes frequency improvements for City Bus, Sonoma County Transit, and Petaluma Transit. So we've been working with those transit providers to update that project, including cost estimates and any changes to the headway improvements that they like to make there. MTC is also working on local revenue estimates. We provide some feedback on that as well. That'll feed into the regional pool of monies. And then this fall, there'll be a window to look at new major regionally significant projects. So those big ticket items that are, have a cost of over $250 million. So this fall through next spring, there'll be project evaluation for those major projects. So NBC has indicated that if there aren't major changes to projects that were in the last plan, they may just roll the analysis from the last plan forward. This winter, there'll also be a chance to look at updates to programmatic categories for small projects. So here in Sonoma County, we have a lot of those. So most transportation projects have a price tag of less than that $250 million. So we typically include them in a program or kind of a bucket for those types of projects. Next July, NBC will adopt a fiscally constrained project list, and then they're looking at final adoption of the updated plan in 2025. So we're meeting at least once or twice a month with MTC staff on those updates right now. So just wanted to give you kind of a roadmap for what's coming forward. And I'll bring regular updates back to this group and be happy to answer any questions. And Ada, please jump in if I missed anything or if you'd like to provide any additional information on that.
No, that was great. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Ada.
Is there any questions from the group? I mean, I have one. So is there going to be some logical spaces in there where we collectively could provide comments?
That's a great question. I'm sure there will be. We're meeting with MTC staff tomorrow on our project updates, so I'll bring that up and try and identify some milestones where we can kind of look at things and maybe have a united front on our review comments.
Yeah, so some things might come up that we want to complain about.
Yeah.
Discuss.
So for our next meeting, I'll put together a calendar and try and drop some milestones in there that
Great.
we can work towards.
All right, well, I think it's still you. Oh, question on Zoom. Okay. I
Hi,
see that far to know the name.
this is Zoe with Smart. I just wanted to ask a quick question. So this RTP update, I don't think you mentioned when the intended adoption date is. Is that
2025.
2025? Okay. And I'll just channel Joanne Parker since she's not here, but with the latest recommendations from the CTC for funding the Windsor extension, I believe the plan is to put our RM3 funding on the Healdsburg extension. And so with that funding commitment, it would be, Smart would want to see the update to the RTP to include Smart going further north.
Do you know the cost estimate and what funds are available and what the gap is?
I believe we just got, I have to verify the RM3, but the award recommendation is for 30 million for Windsor, and that helps fully fund Windsor. And then we have, I think, half of the funding commitment for the Healdsburg extension that's taken care of through RM3. But the exact estimate, I have to get back to you on.
Okay. Yeah, we just want to know the Windsor to Healdsburg estimate, so we can factor that in.
Absolutely.
And then Kim, your hands up.
Yeah, so I've been asked to draft a letter for the mayor's signature requesting improved headways through Windsor response to significant development along the transit corridors. So it seems like the timing is right for this. I just want to make sure it goes to the right agency, whether it should go to SCT or SCTA. And if there's a plan or a document in process that I should reference, I'd like to know that. So I can follow up with you, Chris, afterward if you want, but I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
right there.
That'd be great. I can get you the most recent headway improvement update estimate. And that should go to SET, but it would be good to copy us on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I did want to respond to Zoe, Mr. Chair, if that's okay.
Sure.
Zoe, we definitely want to touch base with you guys soon on the best strategy to try and get things included in the next RTP. So I'll be reaching out to your team this week to try and get something on the calendar so we can start working on that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I think we're up to the next item. Safe Streets for Roads and All grant.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen. I have a few slides here. Can you enable screen share? I guess I probably could.
I think I will turn that off for you.
Okay.
It's on the post.
So I just wanted to provide an update on a grant application that we're working on, really focused on improving safety in Sonoma County. So as most of you know, and most of you have been involved in, we adopted a Vision Zero action plan last year. So there was a lot of activity and work involved in that. Most of your jurisdictions have also developed local road safety plans. So we have a good foundation for safety planning in Sonoma County. And we'd like to be able to build on that and start implementing some of the recommendations in those documents. So the US DOT has actually developed a nationwide grant program called the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. So this was actually developed as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law. And it appropriates $5 billion over the next 5 years in $1 billion per year chunks. So it supports the Secretary of Transportation's National Roadway Safety Strategy and the National Department's goal of 0 deaths and 0 injuries on our roadways, which is completely in line with our local Vision Zero goal of reducing deaths and serious injuries to 0 by 2020 or 2030 in Sonoma County. So SCTA and local jurisdictions are definitely eligible for the program. We're political subdivisions of the state. That's what they're calling us. And there are 3 different eligible activities for this program, including developing a comprehensive safety action plan, which we've already done, and then conducting follow-up planning, design, and development activities recommended by the plans, and then actually implementing or carrying out projects in those plans. So we'd like to focus on those last 2, doing some follow-up supplemental planning and getting some actual projects implemented. So we've worked with our Vision Zero Advisory Committee and the Technical Advisory Committee to start thinking about projects that could actually be implemented with these goals of the overall program in mind. And the main one is to promote safety, right? To reduce those fatalities and injuries. The national program really prioritizes low cost, high impact strategies. So things that we can get on the ground quickly. There's also a 5-year completion requirement. So these need to be relatively shovel-ready projects. There's a focus on serving underserved communities. So there's been a lot of a lack of investment in a lot of areas in the county that we'd like to focus on and provide improvements in. Public engagement for the projects and proposed programs is also very important. And then SCTA and also USDOT would like to also work on different agency goals, including climate change, economic competitiveness, and creating jobs. So, and then one of the number one things that we're considering as we're evaluating projects to include in our application is how does the project support and align with our Vision Zero action plan and the local road safety plans. So we want those projects to build on that framework. So we worked with both of those committees and decided it would be in everyone's best interest to come up with a countywide joint application. So instead of submitting a lot of different applications, put one together. And we're including capital projects and supplemental planning. USDOT has subsequently indicated that the capital project program has been oversubscribed in the first phase. So a lot of people want that, are seeking that grant funding to build projects. And the supplemental planning side has been undersubscribed. So, and they've indicated that for a joint application like this, they may partially fund the requests. So I think it's strategic to include both in our application. So we're going forward to that. Again, the projects need to be tied to our existing plans. If we are successful in receiving grant funds, SCTA would administer the grant and set up individual contracts with the jurisdictions. So helping out with the administration. It's a federal grant program with a lot of administration. So there's some expertise here at SCTA to help out with that. It's not my expertise, but we have folks on the projects and programming team that know how to navigate those requirements. So there's a maximum $25 million award for these types of grants. There's a 20% match required. And then, as I said before, there's a 5-year implementation requirement. So here's a list of the projects that we received. We actually issued a call of projects at the end of April, early May. We received 7 projects from 6 jurisdictions, including 5 implementation or capital projects, and then a number of supplemental planning projects. So just to go through these really briefly, there's a intersection improvement project in Cloverdale focused on improving safety conditions there. A citywide intersection and crosswalk safety project in Petaluma looking at over 20 intersections and making improvements, capital improvements there. Actually conducting a corridor study for the Lakeville Highway corridor in Petaluma. So identifying recommended improvements there. The Santa Rosa Highway 101 bike ped overcrossing connecting the junior college with the west side of town is included. A gap closure of a portion of the smart pathway between Roner Park and Petaluma through Pengrove was submitted. And then a section of Star Road focusing on safety and traffic calming enhancements was included on the implementation side. And then on the SCTA end, we'd also like to put together a safe routes to school plan for the county. So we have a very active and successful safe routes to school program here. The Bike Coalition has requested that we do some of this planning to help provide some support for them in those efforts. The TAC was very interested in looking at speed reduction studies. So there's new state legislation that actually provides some potential ways of reducing speeds. And that's one of the major recommendations of our Vision Zero action plan and the local road safety plans is getting those speeds down to reduce those injuries and fatalities. So we'd like to do a countywide study, and then the city of Healdsburg would also like to do a specific engineering study for Healdsburg to look at reducing speeds there. And then as part of our Vision Zero project, we also developed a data dashboard. We'd like to make some enhancements to that and automate some progress reporting. So here's the timeline. Our board approved the proposed list of projects and authorized us to apply this Monday and last Monday. Applications are due in July. USDOT has indicated that they'd announce awards by the end of the year. So if we are successful, we work on executing a grant agreement with FHWA next year and kick off the project. And then keeping that 5-year timeline in mind, wrapping everything up by 2029, hopefully earlier. So just wanted to keep you all in the loop there. We've worked closely with your engineering and public works staff on this, but you know, I'm sure there will be planning implications, and we do have some supplemental planning activities involved in there that we'd like to keep you all in the loop on and involve you as well. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and turn things back over to you and be happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for Chris?
Is this kind of a one-time opportunity and then the timeline is 5 years to expend it, or is this going to be like annual reopenings?
So there are actually 5 cycles. So we're in the 2nd cycle right now. So there are 3 more cycles after this. So we haven't thought about the next cycles. If we're unsuccessful this time, we could potentially reapply for a future cycle. I know our board member from Roanoke Park was expressing some interest in maybe looking out to a future cycle, but he's more interested in the Gold Gate Bridge District line. So there's some interest in looking further out, and some local jurisdictions are considering submitting something either this cycle or in the future as well. But
Separate from the regional?
Yeah.
What is the collective ask? So I assume it's 1 billion for the whole country.
Yeah.
What is our pot that we're asking?
Yeah,
for?
I didn't, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, I went right through that. So the initial ask was 37 million, and we had to get it down to that $25 million cap. So we worked with each of the project sponsors to reduce the requested amount to 25 million.
Okay.
Yep. So, and I believe most of that is capital, about 23 and a half. So the supplemental planning's 1.5 million of that. So.
And then that next cycle, would that start in 2029? Or is this?
No, it's a 1 year.
Perfect, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So we probably expect the notice of funding opportunity to be released sometime next spring.
Okay.
So it's varied a little bit. The first cycle, they released the guidance in the middle of the summer, July. This time it was earlier in April. And it's a pretty abbreviated time period. It's 4 months for this cycle. So we've been really running to try and get everything together. So I expect now that they've actually gone through a few cycles, it'll be pretty quick again. So we'll probably see the next opening next April-ish with a short kind of grand opening again for the next few cycles. But yeah, 3 more chances after this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions? I don't think I see any hands up on Zoom. So, okay, I think we can move on to the next topic, which is 6, travel mode, land use forecasting, 2023 updates, and this is all on Adam.
Indeed, and soon will be all on you. So very excited to be completing this first step in our travel model. This step has been really looking at the past development projects and current development projects, trying to create complete inventory of residential, non-residential development, ADUs up to quarries to multifamily units, really trying to take a broad perspective of how these different development projects would impact the transportation network in the county. So ultimately, this will then play out into the next additional steps where we'll be taking this project level data, summarize it at the TAS level, understand what the current conditions are, and then following that later this year, we'll be looking at future conditions. So where are we going to be expanding even beyond what we know right now is in the pipeline. So that's very exciting. So right now at this point, we had just a few questions that we were going over that we'd love to pass by you guys. I'll also be giving just a quick overview on Cloverdale will be our example, just to kind of show what the review material will look like. essentially there's a summary table, a detailed table, and then I think for the first time, a kind of parcel level map, which the county might be a little bit more challenging versus Cloverdale, but we do have the shape file available as well, if we that we'd be, of course, happy to share. So some of the real key questions then that we'll be asking in this next stage of review is, looking at the projects, making sure, is this accurate? Have any been withdrawn? Have any been completed? That's really important, understanding the status. If any of the descriptions have changed, if there's new commercial or acreage or square footage has changed, that's also very helpful. And then, yeah, any projects that we might have just completely missed as well. Of course, we want to get those in. And then the last thing that maybe we could just briefly just talk about here before we go into is just thinking about, and after the Cloverdale example, any innovations that we'd want to do in this review. I think, especially at the county level, there's a lot of wineries and breweries, so we can, start to track that. Single family vacation conversions are also, I think, very prevalent around the county. We kind of have those noted, but we're not tracking them officially per se. And just any other kind of development related issues that really are important either internally for you or to express to the public, to express to your boards. We really want to make sure that this is a really useful set of data that we can essentially kind of innovate, grow in the future. So this is kind of our baseline right now, but if there's anything that we'd like to improve in the future, would definitely be open to suggestions. If anybody has any ideas right now, I would definitely take them. Otherwise, I can kind of jump into the sharing aspect of it, or any other reflections too.
Just hearing about it, one thing that we're talking about is just trying to really be thoughtful about our electric vehicle charging network. So I don't know if that's a good kind of data point for this type of analysis, but we adopted a reach code last night, an EV reach code. So we brought forward the mid-cycle update to the building code that's going to basically make more EV charging required. Next year, we adopted that last night early, trying to accelerate that. But basically, as multifamily housing and electric vehicle charging kind of merge and commercial development, it seems like that could be an interesting data point, but I don't know if it's a good fit for what you guys are trying to really track.
Yeah, I think it's a parallel track. We have electric vehicle charging that I think we're tracking separately from this, and I didn't see anything specific within the review materials either that really call out electric vehicle charging stations, but that's something we can definitely look into and just see if that's maybe a separate track we can follow along, or if there's maybe some process that we can try to align in these next few weeks that says, well, if there's a big electric vehicle charging project associated with any of these projects, we could put a little column and, or say how many units there are. That could be, very helpful. So yeah, great example.
And Mr. Chair, if I could, I think there are two pieces to this, right? There's the travel model side, which, this is feeding into the travel model. We want to make sure that there aren't any surprises when the travel model is used to analyze your projects, and then there's the mapping database side, a resource for all of you and us. So if there's anything like charging stations that would be helpful to have in there or on the map, we can't really model that per se. But if we could add it to the database and a map that would be useful for you all, I think that'd be a great addition.
Yeah, it's just what we're saying is like we're prioritizing that with the building code, but then we're also we have a contract likely to come up for a supercharging network in town. But then it's like, well, how does that fit into the broader regional needs? And then as we all push to electrify, being able to kind of plot out your trip, generation, where there may be holes, all those things are really helpful. And that's where I think the map could be.
Yeah, I'd add for the EV charging, from a land use forecasting standpoint, I see opportunities for, in the unincorporated areas where we're not going to have dense places of charging, as we see discretionary projects like, a winery, for example, that's a great place for charging because someone is not going to be there for 10 minutes. They're going to drive there and be there for at least half an hour or an hour in an area that isn't going to have, commercial development that really supports infrastructure otherwise. So I feel like uses where we know visitors are going to go and they're going to spend a while there would be useful to see on a map so we can start to see, where are parts of the county where someone's in trouble if they're going in electric vehicles, so they're not going to be going there unless they have a hybrid, things like that. So not exactly, as valuable as VMT in a travel model, but I think it'd be really useful for, kind of building that network. So echo.
Yeah, I think that's I can definitely bring that back to our SCTA team as well. I think that really dovetails really nicely with some of their work as well, especially talking about the grid, just how we handle that capacity. So with that, I think I'll try to share my screen. So this is the kind of high level summary. What you'll see is the different land use types on the left-hand column. So again, this is for Cloverdale. Not every line is going to be filled in necessarily if there's not a project, but it's kind of there to show you if there is a project, an education project that we missed, and if we show 0, that's a helpful data point for you to just be aware of and help us adjust. So the second column would be the number of kind of distinct projects. So the bold column is obviously for what we have currently. Looking back to our database last year, that's looking what's changed. So from 2022, there were 6 more accessory dwelling units or ADUs added in 2023. So that gives you a little context just to know, have things changed? Are they sticking the same? And then obviously there's affordable units. Didn't have those as well tracked, I think. So that's just kind of a static point for 2023. And then looking at non-residential project size, we can kind of see the different variables if we're looking at square feet or students, hotel rooms, acres of recreational space. And then again, how has that changed from 2022? Any questions on the summary? Okay. Sharing. All right, there we go. So this is the more detailed table. You'll get these in an Excel file. So I'll zoom in a little bit just so we can see. So what we're looking at is kind of the unique project ID, the GIS APN that we're trying to track in the Sonoma County parcel database. Let's see, looking at some examples, in some cases, we're going to have multiple fields for one project. So Alexander Valley Resort, for instance, that's due to the fact that we're looking at 3 different things: multifamily units, single family, and then commercial space. So recognizing that a single project can have multiple uses. There's also a couple other cases where there might be multiple uses on a single parcel or various combination. Feel free, we're very open to going through this data either online through a meeting or in person, like with a big map as well, and like in our conference room. So very happy to go through all these details. And so yeah, in the end, we just look at the land use type, so ADUs, how many units, and then the non-residential information. And then lastly, we'll end up with a map of everything that we could map and find the parcel. We've tried to then attach to a map here and also include the priority development areas so you can see that in context as well. And so this will give you just, yeah, a quick, just the name of it, and then the parcel boundary. So if you know that there is a project, you can hopefully maybe more easily track that in this map form rather than a spreadsheet. So, yeah, I think that probably covers everything. Chris, did you have anything else to add?
No, I think just one thing is Adam will be sending out some materials to review. What kind of turnaround do you think?
Yeah, so we're looking at probably about 3 weeks turnaround. We're anticipating to be able to send this to you out tomorrow. So kind of a 3-week turnaround would be great. And I'll, yeah, be happy to come to your offices, or if you want to come here, or just set up a meeting online. Or just send us back your information too. Any of those options work.
I have a question just related to Rupert Park. How are you accounting for the casino? Because it's not in our city, so we don't want to have it on our list, but we could probably help you come up with those numbers.
Yeah, that's a great question. Maybe we can coordinate a little bit between sharing the results data. Yeah, the casino is definitely, I think, in the county land, so that would be
okay.
Accounted there.
Which really isn't part of the county either. But
Yeah.
Do you guys permit? Do you issue building permits for that? Or do you know?
No,
I don't think we do anything.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Because
It's sovereign.
Yeah.
but it's doubling, and the only thing is it's doubling in size. So I think we
Yeah.
want to put it in there somewhere.
Yeah,
so.
right. Okay.
Would it be useful to include that in the county and fire park tables just to review?
No, we don't want that
You
in
don't
our
want that.
table.
Yeah,
And the county doesn't want it in their table either.
Yeah, it
so.
seems like having a separate,
A tribe.
yes,
tribal
tribal, I
lands.
think, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, they get mad at us if we try to include them in,
Oh,
because
yeah.
they are their own
That's right.
thing, and they're very proud of that. So they want to be recognized as their own separate entity.
Yeah, we should probably reach out
I think so.
Yeah.
to them.
Maybe the other tribes.
Yeah.
And just along those lines, we have the Lytton development outside of Windsor as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they have a big travel impact, so.
Yeah.
So I think on that, if you could just let us know if there are any major tribal projects near or within your jurisdictional boundaries, that would help us be able to kind of create the initial list and reach out to make sure we have it tracked.
And I don't know if this is true for Windsor, but we know the details just because of the environmental document that they produce, so.
Yeah, we have the environmental document for the Windsor project and for.
Yeah, so you
Great.
probably have the data you need.
Yeah,
Just probably a way that it's represented in the maps and the data.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll come up with a new jurisdiction.
Yeah.
To distinguish.
Okay, any other questions, comments on that topic?
All right, well, looking forward to working with you all on that.
Right. Okay, I think we are up to standing updates. So I guess we can just have a free form here. Does anybody want to go first? Are you gonna make me call on?
You go from north to south.
I can start.
Hey, she's ready.
Sebastopol. A couple of bigger things going on. We do have the council authorized us to work with St. Vincent de Paul. They own a site where we currently have RV safe parking. But St. Vincent de Paul owns the site and they are going to be applying for a project home key round 3 to do 22 units of permanent affordable housing. So working with them on that as the partner jurisdiction. And then I do actually have going to council next week, authorization to contract with Fair and Peers to do our VMT analysis stuff. And Ada, I did have a question as to whether or not, given we're starting that, if it made sense to apply for the technical assistance, or if like Ian's gonna really just cover anything that would.
No,
be,
yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Okay, okay, and I did go through the prior working group thing, so, okay. Those are the main things. We're waiting for Woodmark to start their 48 48 units. They have all their building permits and stuff. I think they were mostly waiting for the ground to dry out, but I think they are just now starting that, or will be imminently. And we did receive building permits for the 4-unit Habitat townhomes. So it looks like they are going to be moving forward on that, which is great. And we have our CEQA EIR underway for the City Ventures project, which is about 80 units on the north side of town. And I think those are the main things going on right now, other than budget season, which is always fun.
Great. Should we stay in Zoom land and go with Ada?
I was just going to make, I had mentioned before, but wanted to say that some of our staff have been working with PG&E and GoBiz and the governor's office around PG&E issues. So we're still trying to collect kind of, if you all are having issues and examples of projects being delayed or projects, developers walking away from projects, in particular economic development or housing projects, because of PG&E's inability to hook up or commit to a hookup, please let us know. Our deputy director is kind of very interested in this and talking to the state about this. And you can just shoot me an email. I know, Noah, you already have, Kim, you have too. So thank you very much. Both of you know those were included in a conversation with legislators.
I've heard stories from the county. I've heard stories from Santa Rosa.
Shoot them to me, please.
And a bunch from Mendocino too. Like they just stopped all development.
Okay. Hey, Kim, would you like to go next? Oh, I think you're on mute.
I was in the middle of typing a chat on the PG&E issue. I'll just share that. So our new hotel is under construction with a gas powered generator on site for the construction. It was going to be, PG&E said it was going to be 6 to 9 months to get temporary power to the site. So we're not happy that they're using a gas generator, but that's what they're doing. So anyway, I don't know if there's a lot of updates from the last meeting. We do have a lot of construction going on. We have multiple affordable housing projects in various stages of construction. And we also have a NOFA out for a couple, at least 3 projects. We're expected to apply for that, projects that are entitled, but have not been able to start construction because of a funding gap. We are still trying to get our housing element certified. We're on round 3 of both our housing element as well as our pro housing designation application, with new comments coming from HCD on the 3rd round. So that's not helpful. And we are also working through 3 different builder's remedy applications as well. And the council did, they will be doing a 2nd reading on a short-term rental ordinance the next meeting, so they might finally be through that process. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom? I'm only seeing 4 frames, so.
Hi, this is Tarina with City of Santa Rosa. I'm only in my 3rd week, so I do not have any updates for you, but I'm sure in the future I will.
Hi, this is Owen Christofferson from SMART. I'm also in my 3rd week, so I don't have a whole lot. I will just say that we hit our pre-pandemic ridership threshold last month in May, so that's very exciting. And we also have our Smart Connect microtransit airport shuttle that is launching tomorrow. We've got a ribbon cutting ceremony at the airport station at 2:30 p.m. And yeah, very excited for that as well.
And I'll just add that we're also doing a pathway wayfinding project, and we'll be kicking off the public engagement for that with a meeting on June 29th.
Great. All right, I think we're ready to go back to the room here. You have jurisdiction, Scott or Noah, or? Nope. No updates from Santa Rosa? Okay.
All right, I'll bite.
Okay.
So the county's housing element is scheduled to go to our board of supervisors in August. So provided we get through planning commission in July. Also in July, we'll be bringing forth the update to our local coastal plan. Our current one is old enough to drink, so it's long overdue. So I think it'll be the 14th public hearing on the LCP. Also, like Chris mentioned earlier, we just got 800,000 from ABAG MTC to finish our airport area specific plan. So hoping to kind of restart that process. And our board of supervisors also, I mean, technically they formally vote tomorrow, but they've increased the permit Sonoma budget by $2 million so that we can focus on an 18-month process improvement initiative. So this is more of a call rather than an update, but if anyone has any advice on zoning administrators or restructuring any hearing bodies, that's something that we're really looking to do. The county doesn't currently have a zoning administrator. So we're seeing that as a way to kind of streamline some processes. So if any jurisdictions have any helpful advice, please send them my way. And then lastly, we're working on 6 builders remedy applications. So, and I'm sure there's more to come. So that's it for me.
Great.
I'll just keep going. As I mentioned on Tuesday, our council adopted an electric vehicle reach code. We had talked about prioritizing a natural gas ban as well, but given the Berkeley case, we pulled back on that and just moved forward with the EV reach code and essentially just brought forward the mid-cycle building code update to be adopted a little bit early. Also updated our downtown specific plan, which was adopted on Tuesday, primarily just to respond to a lot of the state law changes. The plan was a form-based code. It didn't include acreage-based densities. And so that was a problem when you're trying to calculate density bonus, et cetera. So we just essentially tuned it up to be able to respond to some of those changes, but it was really good to get that accomplished. Our hotel, we think we're going to issue their grading permit potentially next week, but definitely in the next few weeks. So they're in, which is exciting for us. Our housing element was certified on June 2nd. So we got that letter. Thank you very much for everyone's help who participated in that. Really appreciate it. We're kicking off for the 3rd time our bike and ped update, master plan update. Dana's helping us. We really appreciate partnering with SCTA on that. And we're presenting that at a kind of an opening session to the planning commission, which is also our bike and ped advisory committee on Monday. So that's very exciting. Really excited about that. And kind of dovetailing with that is we've been working on a realignment of West Cotati Avenue. So I don't know if you guys know West Cotati, but as 116 heads out of town, there's West Cotati comes at a really odd angle. There's been some really bad accidents there. And so we purchased the property. We're designing with Fair and Pierce to realign it to a 90-degree and signalize that intersection. I think it'll have actually some fairly significant regional benefits to frankly slowing people down as they come into town, coming out of West County, and just kind of metering traffic as it gets coming in and out of Cotati there. And then in addition, we have a lot of development proposed in that area, so it'll help folks get on and off the highway. So that's also going, that initial design is also going on Monday. Chris, I want to talk to you about grant opportunities for that as we get, because now we're starting to, so we funded to 30%, put in $700,000 to do that and do the environmental. So now we need money to actually build it. Yeah, that would be great. And then we also thank you, Ada and MTC ABAG staff for the Santero Way grant. So that is huge. We've also been trying to update our Santero Way master plan, which is the neighborhood around our smart station. It was envisioned 20 years ago as being this office heavy kind of mixed use neighborhood. And it's not likely to happen on a cul-de-sac surrounded by homes. And so we plan on retooling that, and we've struggled with the financing, but ABAG MTC was able to really support that effort. And at the same time, we have some significant development interest in that neighborhood. So we're hoping that those two things can parallel track and almost master plan out what the development's gonna be while there's developers participating. So Ada, there's been some really interesting engagement on that just even recently. So it seems like it's gonna be dovetailing really well. And then we have a few subdivisions going kind of slowly through the process, but we're still finding the ability to finance projects is hamstringing things. I had a few folks come in, talk about projects, they own the land completely, and even with zero land costs running pro formas, projects aren't penciling. So it's a struggle.
Okay,
I can give Healdsburg's update.
great.
So Healdsburg has a significant amount of development going on along the north end of town. We have our Saggio Hills development, Enzo Village, that's another large development. They're all under construction. We have the Mill District that we take forward. The smaller portions of the project for Planning Commission for design review. And then we just have a bunch of smaller projects through town. We're pretty busy. And then we did go through the first round of VMT technical assistance with Fair and Pierce. We did that back maybe 2 months ago or so. And so we're moving on to the second round of that in mid-July, and then hoping to take forward some VMT to Planning Commission in September. So Fair and Pierce has been really helpful in helping us get that together and moving forward. In addition to that, we are hoping to propose a new PDA and reach that July 31st deadline. So Ada, I think Scott will be reaching out to you, but we're hoping to do that.
All right, I can give a Roanoke Park update. We are working on an RFP for our downtown plan. That's the 30-acre parcel that the city owns by the Smart Station. And so we hope to release that out to the development world here by the end of the summer and see if we can get some proposals for kind of a mixed use, commercial, residential mixed use development. So that's going on. And I guess the other big news is that the Grayton tribe expanded their trust lands. So about 32 acres, and that came mostly out of the city of Roanoke Park. So that came out of some of our specific plans that were on the west side of Highway 101. So they're expanding, and then they're continuing to purchase land up in that area for potential future expansions, I think. So they're getting bigger, and then they're also, and we don't know when they're going to start construction, because as we just discussed, they issued their own building permits, but they are planning to add another hotel wing, double the size of their casino floor, and build a theater, and then a parking structure, but that would all be contained on their existing parking lot area. So that wouldn't be on the new land that they expanded. So those are two separate things that they've done. They're doubling the size of their existing casino operations, and they're expanding their trust lands. So anyway, and we've been working with them really closely on on our general plan. And so one of the things that we will be doing is we're going to be making adjustments to our general plan to kind of reflect the additional land that has gone into the trust lands. So, and that's been going really well, we think. And so the other things that are going on in Roanoke Park is we're kind of continuing to build out our big specific plan areas in Sonoma Village. They're continuing to build homes and kind of making adjustments to their plan. Willow Glen is going back to the Planning Commission, City Council. That's the one that's in the south east corner of town across from Sonoma Village. So they're adding a different product type for their fourth phase to build some. They have some really large lots planned of about half of an acre, and so they're taking some of those and they're making smaller lots. So anyway, they have another a little bit under 100 units to build in Willow Glen, and so they'll be building that project out in the next few years. And then meanwhile, across the street, Sonoma Village, it has grading permits, and so they've been doing a lot of grading and installing infrastructure, and they're preparing to build their first phase of homes. And then University District, which is the specific plan that's north of SSU, is continuing to build homes. They'll be almost done. The Brookfield part of that project will be almost done in the next few years. They're running out of lots. And then we have a couple of smaller property owners in that area that will be starting projects. We have the Creeth project, which is a 3-acre parcel at Keyser and Snyder, if you're familiar with the geography of Rohnert Park, but that's going through the planning approval process right now. And so that will probably be building, they have a townhouse proposal. And then the other thing, I think like Noah, we have, this is grading permit season. So we have lots of grading permits in for people that are getting ready to grade before the rains come in the fall. So we have a couple of hotels that are doing grading and the industrial park that's doing grading. And there's probably a couple of other grading permits out there that I'm forgetting. So is there any other jurisdictions that we missed or any other updates? All right, looks like we're up to public comments. Do we have any members of the public that are out there that would wish to comment? I don't think we have any public today.
I'm not seeing any members of the public on Zoom right now.
Okay. Well, then I guess we're up to the final action, which is adjourn, which of course, I guess we don't have a quorum, so we can't technically adjourn.
We can't adjourn.
Yeah. We just have to stay here. So anyway. So if we can, I think we were just short, just for those on Zoom, we were just short one member today before we have a quorum. So I'm trying to guilt you into coming next in for the next meeting. So anyway. All right.
Thank you.
Meeting unofficially adjourned.
Okay.